my normal Tuesday, and my hair is just so crazy today. But all right, hair aside, I have a great one for you today. This one came in. It is something that I've been feeling for the last few weeks, and I want to talk about it. The title of today's episode, number 21 of the Soulestic Intelligence podcast, is the topic of the sacred pendulum. And I am focusing today on being out of focus in that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. As you guys know, I am an energetic and emotional intelligence healer and guide, and I have created some beautiful courses. The first one is my Mystical Energy Spa. It's an 8-week course to get you from detoxed to feeling really peaceful in your inner sanctuary. And so, if you are watching this and you're interested in that, the classes start next Wednesday, so 5/14. And if you want to book a call, please give me an email over at Amelie, Amelie, at soulesticintelligence.com, or you can send me a DM. Either way, I would love to work with you and get you there. The other program that I've begun is called Soul Over System, and this one goes into the disconnect between AI technology boom and the human feeling and emotional bits and pieces that we are going to need going into this boom. So it's going to help you set a really strong foundation of identity, removing some fear of powerlessness, removing some fears of power, and it's going to help solidify and help you expand. So be a lot more confident in this age of AI technology. And so that one is a 12-week course because we're going to go deep into all of the modalities of emotional intelligence. And I really want to drill those down in for you guys. So please go ahead and contact me. I have many ways of contact, but the easiest one is Amelie, Amelie, at soulesticintelligence.com. All right, let us go into the teaching today. So, what do I mean by the sacred pendulum? So, the one thing that is popping out for me right now is the feeling of being too much and then the feeling of being not enough. Hi, Roger. What's going on? Hey, guys. So, with the sacred pendulum, you can feel too much, and a lot of women will feel this way. I live in Oregon. You guys are so sweet. A lot of people will feel like they're too much. So, being too much means that if I show who I am and they see me as too much, I am going to get rejected. And so, you have this side of the pendulum. And then, if you swing to the other side, I'm not enough. And so, if everyone sees me as not enough, I'm going to be rejected and abandoned. I am teaching you on emotional intelligence, and we're actually going to be going into identity, which is going to be a really fascinating discussion, Roger. You guys are gorgeous. Thank you. So you have this interesting pendulum that is swinging back and forth, and sometimes in the sacred pendulum, you can feel both at the same time. And when you feel both of these at the same time, your system almost feels like it's the best way I can describe it is being out of focus, like out of focus from your body and your soul. I'm in Oregon, America. I live in the United States. So as we're like moving back and forth, there's a lot of there's a lot of different feelings that you can feel in this. Some of the times when you're experiencing this pendulum of identity shifting, it will be hard for you to even connect with the people that you are normally connected with. So let's say you work in an office and you're easily able to go over to the water cooler and have conversations, or, go out to coffee with your coworkers. And then when you experience these identity shifts, like you're working on your energy and your body, the energetics of your body, because we're all expressing a certain level of energy, and then we bring our relationships back in, and sometimes the relationships that we're normally used to having are we get disconnected from them, and then they kind of get pushed away. They're like, I'm not magnetized to you anymore. Thank you so much. Simple pendulum, yes. So when we look at that, we can feel a little lonely from that. That will help us to feel disconnected from the people that, and maybe we don't even really value their relationships, but because it's like a relationship in the workplace, we still want to feel connected because, us as humans, we want to have this beautiful energetic connection with everybody and to be surrounded by the best quality people that we can. So, in this moment, your soul is actually expanding. It's expanding out to the farthest reaches that it possibly can contain. And it's calling in the energy that you're shifting into. So let's say you're used to feeling this too much energy, and then you're like, I am not too much, I'm just enough, and you're able to harmonize these pieces. I'm just enough, and everything around me is not going to leave me because I am magnetic in my I am enough. Because if you're too much or you're not enough, you're in this like sacred pendulum where you have to like harmonize it. And I talk about that quite often. So when your soul is expanding and you're expanding this energy out and you're embracing the beautiful new energy of people, so you'll bring new people in and they'll be attracted to your energy because now you're on in their same synchronistic level. And so you'll bring those in, and sometimes your body has a hard time adjusting with it. That's why I say your soul is expanding and your body is like kind of on this slow path of not connecting. So you can feel out of focus in that when your soul is expanded and your body is just like, I'm trying to like get up to that level with you so that we can be connected again, but it's having a difficult time doing that. And please forgive me, I got a little bit sick over the weekend, and I have a little bit of a cough, but I'm gonna try and maintenance it here. Okay, so some of the other swings that you can feel is being seen and then being unseen. So you can, it's almost in the same breath of this too much and not enough. I'm using that just as an example, but there's more pieces of this. It's like, I, I have a fear of being seen. I have a fear of not being seen. And it can interfere with, I mean, all the pieces that go into this are your identity, your purpose. Those will be kind of put into question as this pendulum is swinging back and forth, and you're trying to focus in on what is it that I need to do that's going to connect me here. Okay? So, if you've ever felt like your soul is expanding and that your body can't keep up, this is just that being out of focus where you're expanding and reconnecting, and that is going to feel a little uncomfortable for you because we really want to be sitting in our soul and in our purpose. Or if you feel like the swing between feeling too much for this world and then not enough for your own purpose is also like out. It's like trying to attract it together. It's working on it. The universe is moving to interlock those pieces together so that you're back to your whole self again. But every once in a while your soul expands and then it's like, oh, I want to be reconnected with it again. And so that is just soul growth in your life. All right. So those are some experiences that you might feel. Okay. So the out of focus feeling for me is that I can feel the distortion. I can feel that there's some sort of distortion going in my body. And the way that I react can be, oh my gosh, I don't feel, I feel like something is not right in my system. And I don't know where I'm going. So there's a lot of confusion. You might feel like you're not quite right here in your body. You're not there. Maybe you have a hard time reorienting yourself to the current world. And part of this is like this transition. Oh, thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate you. So, some of this might feel like you're in transition. Like I said, you're going to feel like your identity is shifting. And then the other piece of this is you're going to have spiritual awakenings. And so I'll go into a little bit about, some of my experiences. I bring up these topics not because I'm like, oh, this is a really interesting topic. I bring up these topics because I am going through it in lifetime. So soul glitter, I was going through it in lifetime. Shadow worth, I'm going through it in lifetime. Like all the topics that I bring to my podcast are topics that I'm currently going through. And I know other people are going through them too. I'm not alone in this. I know that I'm not unique. I just am uniquely chosen to go through it in this moment. So I kind of talked about that identity shift where, let's say in your life, you have children and they're teenagers, and your youngest is now 15, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's three years away from them being an adult. They're going to be going off to college, or they're going to be going off and doing whatever their their unique path is. But here at home, what am I going to do when they're gone? How am I going to, my identity is shifting. And so there's a little bit of mourning that goes into that. There's a grief process that you go through. That is an identity shift. Even having children or getting married or getting divorced or starting a new relationship or starting a new job or leaving a job, buying a house, all of these things shift your identity. And some of them are really easy to navigate. Some of these identity shifts, though, are not easy to navigate. So a couple years ago, when I even started podcasting, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be an energy and emotional intelligence coach. I'm gonna have a podcast. I'm going to, whatever the list is. I knew that, my soul was calling to do those things, but at the same time, my body was having a hard time like leaning into that. It's a very scary experience. But the things that I was going through during that time in the last couple years was a huge identity shift. So not only was I like making these declarations of this is what I'm going to do, it from then until now, I had to go through, starting a job, leaving a job. My mom got sick with cancer. She died from cancer. That shifted the whole dynamics of my family and where did I sit in that? And so I had to like reorient my identity from all of these different situations and re-lock into who I was and then make new declarations. You know, I'm going to be continuing down this soul led path of being connected with others, being in service to the people that are drawn to me. I don't want to just be in service to everybody. I want to be in service to people that are drawn into me. And that should be just like your inner purpose calling is how can I serve others? And that's going to give you the most soul satisfaction. The reason why I think that is I had a job. I had I had the job, I got the degree, I bought the house, all the things American dream, let's say, like what they call the American dream now. Just that is the vision of success in our 3D realm right now. But at the end of all of that, even though I had all of that, it didn't feel fulfilling. I would come home and I would be just in dread, like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. I'd go to work and it's just like your monotonous robot, and there's no real meat to your life. And so, in that, even, I had this identity crisis. So, our identities shift quite a bit. And it's in those transitions that we learn a lot about ourselves. So, as we shift out of that identity and we go into a new one, these transitions, the disorientation of the transitions will leave you feeling unsatisfied, a little out of sorts, like I said, disoriented, and the transitions are really difficult. Like I said, like normally at work, you're able to have these conversations with your coworkers, be able to shoot the breeze with like vendors or customers or clients or whatever, whoever you're serving, you're able to have these conversations. But during these transitions, sometimes you can feel out of sorts and then have, because you're not even connected to yourself, you'll have an even harder time connecting with others. So the transition periods are difficult. Now, the last piece that we were talking about is the spiritual awakenings. And the spiritual awakenings can feel even more disorienting. So earlier this year, actually a couple years ago, I started it. And when I started making these declarations, this is going to be sounding a little far-fetched for some of you, but I hope it lands for the people that want to understand it. So a couple years ago, I I heard a podcast, and the guy in the podcast was saying we can spiritually access heavenly realms, different realms, far reaches of space, all of this stuff. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so fascinated. Okay. And then it's like I asked God, can you help me to safely learn how to do this? I want to be able to access the heavenly realms. I want to be able to use the technology that you've installed in our hardware, which is our body. You've installed these programs, these software programs, if you want to if you want to make it so it's something that is technologically understandable. I want to understand how to access these spiritual software technology that is imprinted in our bodies. I know it's in here. I can feel it. There's a lot of evidence that it is there. How do I access this safely and come back into my body? Because there is a little bit of transportation that is going on when you're going into these other realms. How do I do that? Spiritual awakenings are basically asking something, a question like that. It's a big question. That's a big ask. That's a big transition. That is a big identity shift from being just a 3D person here to being able to transcend and go into another realm that's a big ask. So in that, I've had some interesting out of body experiences. And I don't know if I brought it up here on my YouTube channel, but I know that I have had discussions about it. And when you ask things like that, that's like, okay, here's where you're at now, and you're asking to be here. Now we're going to move you up. But during that, like moving, if you've ever moved from house to house, you know how like you had to figure out where you're going to put everything, you had to box everything up, to move it around, you have to put it into a transport vehicle, bring it to the new place. And so it's this whole like shifting thing. So when your soul is elevating into a new identity and into a new timeline, it's the same. It has to take all of your energy, and it's like shifting it around. Okay, we've got to move the things around and then put it into a transport vehicle so we can bring it up to the next timeline. And then once we're at that next timeline, then we can have, a good, we can reestablish you. But during that transition, it's always uncomfortable. There's always these things you have to watch for. Did I get all the things? Did I label it all? However you move. Some people just throw everything in a box and they're like, I don't even care. Just throw it in a box. That's kitchen. That's bedroom. That's living room. That's bathroom. Like, and then we're gonna toss a bunch of stuff out because we don't need it anymore. I'm just gonna get new stuff when we get to that new timeline. So, like, if you're thinking about moving, when you're moving timelines, it's the same thing. And in those moves, you're having these awakenings. Like, so a couple weeks ago, I was doing a live stream and somebody brought up the telepathy tapes. I think that's what it's called. It's not merely just telepathy, but they brought up the telepathy tapes. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's look into it because it's been a long time since I've even heard of it. And the last time I heard of it was, over 20 years ago. And now, since it's been over 20 years, I'm going to drill into what it is, how it associates with me. And in that, I had these like deep spiritual awakenings of, it was epic proportions. So I'm looking at that, and like it has to do with like my ancestry and accessing all that ancestry, and then what they were capable of and what their purpose and missions were here on earth, and how that can apply to me. And we all can do this, so I'm not like a special person here. We all have access to this depending on whatever your ancestry was, and you have to kind of look at it and figure out, okay, because of all of their experiences, then I'm going to, I'm very serious time. Every time, give me some tips. Hopefully this is landing with you. Okay. So in these spiritual awakenings, you're going to have this new information installed. And a spiritual awakening can be attributed, and if you're looking at in technology terms, into having new program installs or like a reboot from like a spiritual location. So you can be, it's almost like a restart of, you're looking at something in a certain way, and then you realize that there's something that's incorrect, and so you fix the bug, and then you restall and you update your system. So that is a spiritual awakening, essentially. In the last few weeks, my system has grown so much. It's almost overwhelmingly difficult to even be connected. So like I said, like here's my body and here's my soul, and as I'm getting these upgrades, it takes time for that reboot, that restart to happen, where the software is basically reinstalled with the bug updates and whatever that is, that it feels like you're off. It feels like you're out of focus. It feels like you're hypersensitive, and getting back to being connected, like you almost have this drive to be reconnected with yourself. And it's in the middle of it, it's very difficult to feel centered and whole because you're really out of focus. I mean, I think about if you look at a 3D image, how it's like, okay, here's the image, and then it has like, especially with TikTok, it has those like the blue and the pink, so it's like out of focus, and you're just really working on like bringing it back to center. But sometimes it feels like you're out here, and so you can feel the too much and the not enough, or you can feel seen and not seen. And really, what we're working on is reharmonizing back into balance so that we're like, oh, okay, now here's where we are. But once you start using this technology or this tool that you have, then you'll find that you are going to want more updates. You're going to want to go faster and move more and experience more of these awakenings, because then you get used to the fact that you're able to do this. So, in what I teach, I'm teaching you tools that you're able to go in and do this on a rapid, so you can be a little bit more rapid about it, so that you can be getting the new installs and getting the new updates and moving along as we progress, because we want to be progressing. I think just on a soul satisfying level, we want to be progressing. But we do have this this interesting like out of focus feeling while it's happening. So it's completely normal. I It's completely normal, and you get used to it after a while. So once you overcome that disorientation, the identity shifts, I do want to talk about this polarity pendulum. So there's a lot of different polarities that we can feel. I'm using too much and not enough, which is kind of tied to worth. And it's just whatever your wounds are. Everybody has different wounds, and so you're going to want to look at those wounds of, okay, both of them on both sides are obviously extreme, and they're not in balance, so they're out here, and we want to be, here. We want to really focus in on being enough, right? So the if we're looking at the fear of being seen and the fear of being unseen, we're really looking at, okay, obviously the confidence piece is a little bit of like, I'm afraid to be public because if I am, then I'm going to be rejected. People are going to laugh at me. Whatever the story is about, if you can't go up and have a public speech or come on video podcasts like I'm doing right now, it's a challenge for some people, that sometimes you just have to get out there and do the thing because you're being called to it. But the so we have all these polarity pendulums, or we can call them a paradox. Either way, it's really just this out of balance feeling that you have in your system. So, like a feeling of being too much is energetically overwhelming or emotionally hypersensitive, or you're over identified. So you're feeling like you're too much. And then obviously the not enough is like that imposter syndrome, shrinking, questioning your value. So we have these two extreme words that come into play when you're having this spiritual awakening, when you're having this identity shift. And it really is just that wound of self worth where you've maybe had to prove yourself to be worthy in, your childhood or in your teenage years or even in your adulthood. There was something somewhere that kind of threw that out of balance. And it is a sacred wound that it is fixable. And it really is just repairing these identities and continuing to go through and work through it and clear it out and get rid of all of this too much, not enough, and rebalancing into where we need to go. Now, having wounds is not a failure of your system. It's just things that you've had installed in your system, well, let's call them like viruses. If we're using like technology terms, like having viruses or bugs sitting in your system. And we, as we're like continuing to cleanse out this technology that we have, we want to look at it as initiation, not as a failure. It's just an initiation of, I'm bringing this to your attention. Hey, you've got this bug, or I can't think of any other update reasons. I update apps all the time. But like our software updates. Oh, we're fixing these bugs that are coming up, and so we're going to give you the 18.1.14 or whatever the new whatever the new operating system software update is. So we've initiated that. We've shown that there's some growth that needs to happen here, and now we're going to be working on it. So that polarity pendulum is really just kind of showing you like, oh my gosh, I'm using the too much, not enough because I am experiencing that in my system and really cleansing that out. But like I said, there's lots of other polarities that you can feel that will make you feel out of alignment. And yeah, so the paradox is just showing you something that you're needing to offer. All right. Um, I do want to talk about one of the things that it's kind of a hard thing because it's a little bit out there. It's a little, like I said, a lot of people might not identify with it, but in our lineages, in our ancestry, we might have certain installs, like unique programs that we're able to access. And so, as I'm doing this like fun live stream, I just wanted to talk for the evening, and so I was just gonna pop on for like 30 minutes, and I was on for like 3 hours, deep diving this in real time. But like I'm Native American, and the Native American tribes I'm associated with are the Northern Arapaho and the Cherokee. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at these telepathy tapes, and we're just kind of like BSing around. And I'm like, oh, yeah, an old boyfriend told me that the CIA, or I said ABC agency, but it's the CIA, was doing all these tests on people and trying to tap into their psychic abilities. And they determined that there were certain types of ancestral backgrounds that we can have that give us more psychic abilities or not. And so, here I am. I'm like, oh, okay. They targeted Native Americans. They targeted Irish. They targeted the African mystics. They targeted Romani people. They targeted people that had trauma-induced trauma-induced like experiences, and then they targeted autistic children. So they're doing all of this tests, unbeknownst to some of the people that were participating in it. But anyway, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, so I'm reading through it, and then it was like sky people, and I'm like, oh, okay, sky people. That's ringing a bell with my Arapaho lineage. And so I go to look it up and see what does Arapaho mean, and it literally translates into blue sky men or blue cloud men, and that was a spiritual bombshell, and it was very intense for me because then, like, obviously my identity shifted a little bit, knowing that I came from a line of people that were associated with the sky. And so there's a unique install or unique software from my lineage that I've given. And it further went to say that, whatever you're born into, especially here in America, you might have multiple ancestral lines. Like I think I have like five different lines. So French, Irish, Dutch, and American Indian, so both Northern Arapaho and Cherokee. So I have all of these, that's five of them. I think there's a couple more. But I have all of these lineages that have given me installs or these unique softwares, and everybody has this. And it made me kind of think like, is if I have like so many of these different ancestral lines, then is are people that are kind of like pure blooded, are they, it's easier for them because they only have the one or maybe two lines that they, lineages that they have to kind of work through as far as any generational curses or any generational woundings that get passed on through the DNA. But just being a part of that sky people, it's almost like it's calling to me to reconnect to it. So the sky people, or you can call them star seeds, star ancestors. There's a lot of Native American stories where, the people from the clouds or people from the sky came down and they brought information and then shared it with the people on Earth. There's like the ant origin story where they were helping to protect them from cataclysms or catastrophic events that were happening. So you have a lot of different archetypes installed in your system that you can draw on. If you're Irish, there's a lot of like fae and just a lot of different information that comes from the Irish line that really connects you to like there's like a lot of psychic mystical information that if you're Irish you're connected to as well. And then obviously the other ones that I was talking about. So when we're when I'm saying like I a few years ago had this calling to say, hey, I want to I want to know how to use the spiritual technology that I know we have installed in us and teach me how to use it safely. It has led me on a journey of having these out of body experiences or having these unique experiences where I know that I'm not in my body. I know I'm like multi located outside. So I have my body and then I have my soul and it's like moving around. And there is a lot of stories of the saints doing this. So it's not relegated to any religion or anything like that. This is a spiritual technology that we have installed and we just need to learn how to use it. So for me to make that calling and saying I want to learn how to do this, to now like having these downloads of your ancestors were also able to do it as well, was a pretty big trip. All right. So moving into a learning how to self audit yourself and then moving into realignment with yourself as you're doing these unique transitions, there's a question that you kind of want to ask yourself, which is what version of me is dying or what version of me is getting updated? So maybe it's version 18.1.13 and you're going to 18.1.14. So you definitely need to look at, okay, what is going away, but then what am I also bringing in? So there's part of surrender and part of letting go is figuring out like what you want to let go of. And sometimes that can be sometimes that can be figured out by journaling, by mirror gazing, or even by blessing the thing that you want to go away. So let's say that you want that version of you that feels too much to go away. Just bless it and say, you know, I know that you have been there representing me and protecting me and serving me in a certain way, but I'm ready to let that version of me go. And I appreciate all that you've done to help me. So it's really just blessing this old version of yourself and thanking it for being there and helping you go through a difficult time. And understanding that that's an old version of you that you're always able to access, but now you're getting this new update or this new install. So those are some ways that you can do some identity shedding. Just looking at, okay, you know, I know that I was a mother to, you know, two beautiful sons, and now they're adults and they're, you know, good men now, and I served my duty doing that, and I'm ready to step into being whatever my next purpose is. So really just blessing that old identity, thanking it and letting it go. Now, some people, when they're having these body soul and they're trying to resynchronize together, they might have a feeling of floating, a feeling of buzzing, being disconnected, being disoriented, and those are all normal feelings. And maybe even having extreme stuff like out of body experiences, like I was mentioning. So, those are all normal things as you're moving, you're resynchronizing yourself to your higher self. Like I said, it's kind of like I'm reaching for that. It's like here's your soul. It's like I'm already up here, and it's calling your body back in, but it's like out of focus until it's like in focus, you know? So, doing grounding breath work, somatics, and walking barefoot, helping you ground, doing some lower chakral sound work. So, if you have tuning forks or you have access to anybody that has any sound bowls or tuning forks or anything like that, doing grounding is going to help kind of recenter you a lot faster. The most ideal places to do grounding, if you're close to it, are waterfalls and it's springtime. So, waterfalls will help you ground faster. The beach will help you ground faster. And if you're in an area that has thunderstorms regularly, after the thunderstorm, you'll have more negative ions in the atmosphere. The other things that you can do is you can have the pink Himalayan salt lamps will be helpful for you. Those will help ground having plants in your home. And I apologize for being a little sick, but it's part of life, I guess. But you're going to want to find ways to really ground. I have, I don't know if it's here. Oh, I do. I have a tuning fork. So this one is a 128 tuning fork. Now, 128 is the hertz that is the Earth's. So when you're out walking barefoot, those, oh, did I hit a thing? I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it. But listening to that hum of the 128, that's the same as like walking barefoot out. It's the same as the Earth's hertz. So that's what's grounding you. So if you want to get tuning forks, it's a great way to help you recenter and ground and and bring you back from this like buzzing feeling or this disorientation or that disconnected feeling, or even like you're in environments and you're like, I'm not connecting with the people around me. Having that sound will be helpful. I know there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that are just like, oh, okay, grounding sound, and it's like 5 or 8 hours or whatever it is. That can be helpful for you. Just figure out what aligns with you the best. I do sound therapy, and I'm going to be starting to do that regularly at a regular time every week, and have that offered as a low cost subscription so that you can always have a place to come and cleanse your energy and just reground and recenter into yourself as you're like out there experiencing the world. I think energy hygiene is just as important as body hygiene, and that I do it every week. I do it every Thursday. I go into a place and I have that. So I invite you guys to that. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please let me know. And we'll get you started on a subscription, and it'll just be once a week, and you just come in and you're like, okay, here's the teaching. I want to ground and I want to be guided through that process. And it's really relaxing. It kind of stimulates the vagus nerve and gets your nervous system re-regulated, and helps to kind of minimize more of these signs that you're experiencing. The Hopefully you guys can you guys still hear me? I don't know if you can. Sometimes when I get phone calls, it's out. I'm gonna pretend like you guys did. So pendulum holding is that with having your hand on your heart and also on your womb space as well. And you want to move your breath. Like, you want to have deep breaths because it's reminding your body that I'm safe. If you're doing shallow, small breaths, or not like full breaths and on a regular basis, your body is going to have a difficult time going back into that rest, digest, repair cycle that it needs. And that's why deep breaths always work. It sounds really trite. Everybody says it. Oh, just do deep breaths. Just do deep breaths. It's because it works. It's one of the fastest ways to get your body to be okay with where it's at. So you could do that with holding your hand on your heart and holding your hand on your womb space or your sacral space and taking deep breaths. I allow myself to be vast and vulnerable at once, and just continuing to do that. So that will help you hold those pendulums and help to kind of recenter that piece. The last thing I want to mention about, as you're trying to resynchronize your body, and you're doing, some physical things to kind of reconnect those pieces, is that we're just refining the soul at these moments. Basically, we're kind of like peeling away like an onion, just little pieces of ourselves, and reframing it. And we're looking at this discomfort not in a bad way, even though it might feel that way the first time you're going through it, or the first few times that you're going through it. Eventually it becomes, oh, okay, I know that I'm experiencing this discomfort. That's why I'm talking about this today. I know I'm feeling out of focus. I know I'm feeling disoriented and disconnected and buzzy and kind of maybe loopy or out there, and I can't have normal conversations with people. It's just your soul's way of being, of a new divine tuning. And so you're just continuously pulling at it, and eventually, just because you're so practiced in it, you get used to it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I know I'm feeling this, and it's just my body's way of telling me my soul is expanded, that I'm being divinely upgraded and updated, and I'm okay with that. Other ways that you can really just ground yourself in is having Epsom salt bath soaks, so soaking in that for a long period of time, kind of, and then thinking about just washing away some of that discomfort that you're feeling. Tuning fork baths are also another way to do that, and just creating new intentions for yourself of, okay, here is where I'm at. I want to get really good at cleaning up at resynchronizing my soul and being able to do that. Or when I have out of body experiences, when I'm coming back into my body, I'm able to really manage coming back into that, because as we go through, and I'm learning as we go through and we're really accessing this technology that we are born with a birthright in, as we're experiencing these out of body experiences, or just the soul kind of moving and shifting, we're wanting to just learn how to come back into it. How do I come back into it? And you just become more and more, like I said, practiced in how to do that. Okay. So some other ways to help move into the soul that you're becoming. So you're becoming, or you're being called to remember. Both of those things can be true. Some things that you can do just to kind of recenter and refocus and kind of quicken it a little bit is to hum like an om, will really help. And just doing it from that belly, and I feel like it activates a lot of the energy and gets it moving around. So breathing does that. Also, sound does that. You don't have to have a tuning fork. You can use your own voice. So sometimes singing you might be called to do that, or humming, you might be called to do that. Just affirming aloud that you're giving your body permission to hold what you're becoming. And you want to hold that soul where it's at, because you're like, oh, okay, it's my soul's expanding. Okay, now I'm going to come and meet, my body's going to come and meet it. So we're just wanting to encourage and affirm that this is what we want. And like I said, breathing. So if this is landing with you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've experienced this. I know that I've gone through it, and it was so hard for me. I just kind of like fell back into my normal, however I was operating. I just want to encourage you that these things are normal to feel, especially when your soul is like growing and you're having these spiritual awakenings, and it's it's it feels lonely, because a lot of the times it's just you and your soul, like, they're trying to figure it out. I'm bringing this to you to help you see that it is normal to feel this way, and that it is normal to have these feelings and the disorienting feelings. You're not broken. In fact, you're being reforged in a divine way, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of us are going to be coming out here and having these experiences, and really, really wanting to reach out and have a community of people that they can lean back into and say, I've been experiencing this, oh my gosh, and just having somebody relate to that, because we want to feel connected to each other, not just to our soul, but to one another. And it just feels a lot better when you know you're not alone in it. And for people like me, I'm a 6'2" in human design, and so that 2 number, sometimes the hermit part of me doesn't want to come out and say like all of these things, because it is a little terrifying to bring it to the people and say, hey, this is an experience that we're having. Like, this is a unique calling that I have and a unique gift that I'm sharing with you. But if I don't do it, then I'm not living in my own soul purpose by gifting this to you, by gifting you this unique experience that, hey, I'm experiencing being out of focus and out of my body, and it's okay that I'm experiencing that. And it's just showing me that my soul is growing and that I'm yearning for more. And that I know that we have this divine connection with our bodies because we were born in a birthright having this technology in our system. So I hope that that lands for you guys. I don't see any questions in the chat, and I appreciate you guys all for coming on. And I am hoping that this really landed with you and that you feel that, man, this is something that I've experienced, and I'm glad that somebody is saying it out loud. Now I don't feel so alone in that. So, anyways, I hope that this was a good podcast for you. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.